And I think I'm going to start by saying hi to those who have joined. My name is Erwin Huerta. I'm one of the conveners, actually the convener of the data schools at the University of Cambridge. Here with me, I have Anne Alexander, who's co-organizer of the data schools, and also Karen Herbain from the staff at CDH. And it's really great to welcome you to this Q&A for the Cultural Heritage Data School that we're going to have in April 2024. This is an in-person edition. So we're going to just go through some important information, also reveal a little of the content that we're going to have for that day, and hopefully also some of that information is going to be updated on the website soon. So this is probably the outline that we're going to follow. Just this introduction that I'm giving to you, then I'm probably going to go through the content. I'm actually going to mention a few things about the program of the data schools in general. Then Anne, my colleague Anne, is going to talk about a module that she's actually delivering for the data school. And she's also going to talk about the perfect application, if there is such a thing, just so that you know what to do, how to strengthen your application for applying for the data school. And finally, we're going to be talking about visiting Cambridge as well, some practicalities about it, because we are 4 months and a bit more till we meet in Cambridge. So it's going to be a good idea if we just talk about some practicalities, and later on we're going to receive questions from you who are here in the live video call. So this first part, points 1 to 4, are recorded because we're going to distribute the video later on our website and social media. But then the Q&A, your questions are not going to be recorded, so you also feel free to ask whatever you think you want to know, it is important for you to know. So just as a general introduction to the program, really for the data schools, our objectives really for the data schools are to facilitate access to tools and methods for digital data collection, analysis and reporting. We want to foster ethical practices in digital research as well. We encourage dialogue between academia, civil society, the public sector, and industry about the social, ethical, and policy implications of digital research methods. And we do have two different types of data schools. We have one which is the Cultural Heritage Data School, which is the one that is being touched upon right now, geared towards the GLAM sector: galleries, libraries, archives, and museums. Another one which is a Social Data School, geared towards social political phenomena. But that's a different type of school. The one we're talking about right now is the Cultural Heritage Data School, which is led by Cambridge Digital Humanities at the University of Cambridge. We provide new methods, technical foundations, and tools to create, visualize, and analyze digital archives and collections. And this is an in-person, the one that is happening in April, because we also have an online version, but that's not the one that we are touching upon right now. We have this in-person happening in April. Intensive teaching program, which aims to bring together participants from the wider GLAM sector and academia to explore methods used to create, visualize, and analyze digital archives and collections. So who should apply? Who are we expecting to be applying? So yeah, people from libraries, galleries, museums, volunteers are working with data in these kind of institutions, but also researchers in academia, in other institutions. We have had also participants joining from NGOs or foundations that are working with cultural heritage, so they are welcome to apply. We also welcome applications from students, but we prioritize applications from those who are outside academia and also not studying at the moment, because there is another program in Cambridge University that is particularly focused on or for people in university. But we do accept some applications from students, just to say that we prioritize applications from those people who are actually having those connections with the GLAM sector. Same for researchers. You maybe Anna's going to be talking about this a little bit more, but we do like to see researchers who already have some sort of connection with these institutions as part of the research. So our commitments to facilitate access, we are keen to see applications from all over the world. We have had very international cohorts so far in this project. You only need to be able to participate in person to this data school, which is taking place between the 8th and the 12th of April 2024. And although we cannot sponsor a visa, we have done it in the past. We can write a letter of support for these applications. We also support applications from participants from the Global South and from individuals and organizations representing historically marginalized and oppressed social groups. And I'm going to talk about this later when it comes to fees, but we do have concessionary rates and a few bursaries too. So what does it cost, the fees for this in-person edition of the Cultural Heritage Data School? Standard place costs £750 per person. We did have some early bird tickets. That was until 30th November 2023. And as I was saying, we do have concession places at 145 per person. And we have some bursary places, and those bursary places are waive fees, so with no cost at all, right? The standard rate is applicable if you are part of an organization with paid staff. However, on the application, you will have the opportunity to apply for a discounted rate if, for example, your organization has a small number of paid staff or a limited funding as well. And for concessionary places, these are for the unemployed or for unfunded projects, also for people who are applying from the Global South, although we recognize that this term can be problematic, but not the Global North, Global South residents that can demonstrate financial needs. And as I said, with bursaries, wait fee is also available, and those applying for a bursary, they have to demonstrate in their application, there's going to be a space for that, that there is also a benefit in them joining the school, and also the financial need for it. So that's about fees. And what does it include? Well, so a whole week of the Cultural Heritage Data School in Cambridge. We're going to be using buildings, classrooms, some of the infrastructure from Cambridge University in 23 hours of teaching sessions spread over the week from Monday to Friday. You're going to have access to online teaching resources, spaces for discussion with practitioners, with researchers and the peers. In fact, a lot of the magic, as it were, happens also with participants, because you bring with you experience, expertise, great ideas that when you are interacting together, we have seen that there is great benefit for everyone. Also, it includes troubleshooting sessions. There's going to be just allocated time, allocated people also to deal with glitches, or that you have problems with installing something. That's going to be included in the fee, and catering as well. Refreshments for the whole week, and one lunch sandwich buffet per day. You need to bring a laptop with you. Maybe you're going to talk about that later on which you have the right to install software. We are not going to provide any equipment. I don't think there's going to be need for that, but Wi-Fi will be available at the university premises, and it is accessible. We do have appropriate spaces for the data school in general. Now I'm going to move on to the content, and you might have seen on the website some of this modules there, but not all of them have been updated. Updating you right now, and we're going to make sure that this is going to be updated on the website. But these are some of the modules that you are going to be having. So we're going to be having a talk on machine learning for collections, another one on linked data for digital images. I'm probably going to touch upon that in a minute. We're going to have also a module on sentiment analysis, which is something that is usually applied to text. Network analysis, which has been applied in the past, for instance, for the analysis of correspondence and other projects. Text wrangling for cultural heritage collections, digital archives and communities in crisis, which is a recent development, and probably we can talk about it later too. And also ethical research design, which is an important part of the data school that we're always trying to include as part of the curriculum. You will also have the possibility of visiting the library at the University of Cambridge. And with all this content, you are going to also have the possibility of accessing tutorials, online resources, and other perks as well. Now, I'm going to talk about the keynote speakers. This is also new information, which I hope you find it enticing. We are excited actually about having these two keynote speakers for the data schools. One of them is Mia Rich, who is the British Library's digital curator for Western Heritage Collections, and she is going to give this keynote on machine learning for collections. We're also going to have, all the way from the Netherlands, Etienne Postumus. He's a senior researcher at the Leibniz Institute for Information Infrastructure, Information Service Engineering, and he's going to be talking about linked data for digital images. This talk is going to be particularly important for those who are trying to establish connections between different institutions, collections from different institutions, and how to establish these links. So those are the keynote speakers. And also I can introduce the team. You're going to hear from Anne in a minute about her module, but Dr. Anne Alexander is going to teach for us. Dr. Julia Grisot, also part of CDH. She is going to be in charge of the module on sentiment analysis. Hugh Jones, who is the head of the digital library unit, is going to help us with text wrangling. You have Andy Corrigan as well, who's been involved in the creation of this this new module on archives in crisis, and Hugo Leal, Dr. Hugo Leal, who's been involved in database correspondence, and he's going to be in charge of network analysis. So that's the teaching team for this Cultural Heritage Data School in person in April. And now I'm going to hand over to Anne to talk about one module or two modules, whatever she prefers, and maybe later on about the perfect application, if there is such a thing. So Anne, over to you.
Thanks very much, Irving, and I hope everyone can hear okay. So I thought I would share with you some of the background to what I'm teaching on in the data school. I'm going to be contributing to two different elements, one of which is around ethical research design, and I think this is where I would start really in terms of trying to explain a little bit about how the content of the data school works, because one of the ways in which we try and equip you through the data school to be more confident in designing and designing research projects or investigations involving data and applying what you've learned is through a kind of overview and a holistic approach to the project lifecycle in data intensive work. And one of the key principles of this is embedding ethical principles into how you collect data, how you analyze data, how you present it, thinking about the whole process from data collection to preservation and destruction of the data through an ethical framework and an ethical lens. So although you'll be learning a lot of different skills, which can be applied in many different ways with text or images, overall we try and give you the chance to leave the data school with an idea of how these fit together into a life cycle of a data project, and where ethical questions fit into that framework. So that's part of that's part of the fundamentals, if you like, of the data school. In addition, I'm also contributing to a section of the data school module which will look at digital archiving and communities in crisis. So this will include some exploration not only of what is a digital archive, how do archives change in the digital age, but also thinking about what happens when you're trying to do archiving, make archives in contexts where people are under stress or in crisis. Digital archives can often come into their own, for example, in times of disaster, when people may find that, if their lives are disrupted by an earthquake or conflict, that actually the material that they have, digital material on their mobile phones and so on, can become extremely important documentary records or personal records of the events that they're going through. But these bring up enormous challenges often in terms of how to archive these at a technical level, the kind of ephemerality and difficulties in preserving that sort of material, and often other ethical challenges in terms of perhaps threats to people who might be pictured in images. Say if you're talking about archiving images or digital materials in the context of conflict. And so we'll consider all of these different questions and look at examples of archival projects and memory projects that have grappled with some of these in different and quite creative ways, ranging from kind of traditional archives to documentaries, visual archives, and so on, that have been created as part of memory projects, working with communities that have experienced crisis, for example, in the aftermath of earthquake in Italy. One of the projects we'll look at is a community-driven documentary that has archived the life of a village in Italy that was affected very, very badly by an earthquake. So that's just an overview of some of the content. In terms of the perfect application, I'm not sure that there isn't a single perfect application. What I really wanted to emphasize, though, is essentially the point that there's kind of 2 points really to emphasize in terms of applying. Firstly, that, as Irving said, we want the data school to be a place where people who are putting intensive methods in working with data into practice in different professional contexts can talk to each other, exchange good practice, and learn from each other. So there is a real focus on the sector, on the cultural heritage sector. This isn't like simply an academic summer school type event where people would be focused purely on kind of academic research. We do have quite a lot of academic researchers join the event, and we're very, very welcome to apply, but we'll prioritize applications which show an engagement with the cultural heritage sector, that might be working with a museum or a library or an archive, for example, or working in collaboration with a community group, a cultural heritage community group, and so on and so forth. So that's one side of that. Link to the sector is really important. The other thing is also to show, use your application to show not how you will benefit from the school personally, how it will fit with your professional goals in terms of, or your goals in the project that you're working on, because it doesn't have to be that you are employed in a cultural heritage sector project. It could be you're working as a volunteer with, or working with a community group, but try and show us what you want to learn from us will help you in doing those things. And in addition to that, and particularly actually if you are applying for a bursary or a concessionary place, because we want to make an impact in the world with the data schools, and we want to help open up and democratize access to training in these areas. If you're also likely to be able to use the skills that you learn to work with other people, maybe you are part of a project and you'll go and teach people on that project how to use some of the skills that you've learned, or you can show other ways that the community that you're part of or the institution that you're part of will benefit from you taking part in the data school. That's likely to help us, help us give a higher score or a higher rating to your application. And as I said, this is could be particularly beneficial if you're applying for a concessionary or a bursary place. I'm happy to answer further questions and so on in the Q&A about that.
Yes. Do you want to, I think we have 2 more sections on technical requirements and visiting Cambridge. Do you want to touch upon those?
Yeah, so I can just say briefly about the technical requirements. You will need to have a laptop. I'm afraid we can't provide any equipment. And one of the reasons why we want you to bring a laptop is that if you do need help with installing software and so on, we can do that with you during the data school. But it's much better that you learn how to do this yourself. It's on your own laptop that you can run yourself, and then rather than you borrowing equipment for us, which you then don't have access to after the data school. We use free and open source software for most of our for our teaching. I think everything that we use is either free to use or open source. And we do use a couple of, again, accounts that you can sign up for free, like a Google account and a GitHub account. And we will be sending out all of the details of that before the data school. Like I said, we do give you support. We don't expect, in terms of technical requirements, we don't expect anyone to have prior knowledge of programming. That's not a requirement. All of the content in the data school is suitable for people who are beginners in relation to using programming languages. And we don't expect any specific level of competence in terms of using other software packages. You'll find it a lot easier if you have a bit of familiarity with common office-based products, like working with spreadsheets, which could be like Excel, but also open source alternatives and so on. But again, there is no, there's no specific level of the kind of pre-level that you have to reach before applying for the data school. In terms, do you want to go to the next slide?
Sure.
In terms of traveling to Cambridge, then we can't book travel and accommodation for you, with the exception that there are a limited number of places that we have pre-booked to offer for accommodation for people who've been accepted on the data school. This is not part of the cost of the school. You'll have to pay for that separately. But these are rooms in a college which would be considerably cheaper than making private arrangements. So, and they'll be offered on a first come, first served basis to people who have registered for the data school. If you don't take up that offer, then you need to book your own accommodation, and we would encourage you to do that as soon as possible, as soon as the details of your place are confirmed, because accommodation is often in quite short supply in Cambridge. And we also have the school has, we provide kind of lunchtime catering during the school. That's included in the cost of the school. But we will also additionally have, again, it's an additional cost, but not a huge cost, the option of going for a meal with other participants at a local restaurant on one of the evenings, which more details will be provided closer to the time. Irving, do you want me to say something about visas?
I think it might be useful, yes, for those who are not joining.
Yeah. So the other thing to mention is that, as Irving said, if you require a visa to come to the UK, then we can assist you insofar as we can write a letter confirming that you would be taking part in the data school, and this would enable you to apply for a visitor visa, which allows you to attend a short course, an educational course at a registered educational institution. This is not the same as a sponsored visa for work, and you would have to, unfortunately, you will have to bear the cost of the visa application, which is an additional cost to factor in. But if you need any advice on that, and you would like us to write a visa letter, we're very happy to do so.
Yes, thank you. And I just want to chip in to say that CDH has pre-booked some college rooms at 88.55 pounds per night, and these are going to be offered on a first come first served basis. And we've checked other hotels, other options for accommodation, and they're usually around 130 and more. So yeah, it is a kind of an advantage to book with CDH. But as I said, once you've been offered a place, then you can ask also for accommodation in one of the colleges, which I believe is going to be Selwyn. So that's one. The second thing I wanted to also clarify is that I had said that the concessionary rate is 145, but sorry, that's incorrect. The concessionary rate is £460. So concessionary rate is 460, not 145, as I mentioned before. Yes. And probably just to then mention some important dates. The deadline for applications, 21st of January 2024. So you still have some time to prepare your application and to prepare everything to come to the UK, to Cambridge. And then you're going to get your results by 25th January. And so that it also, gives you enough time to prepare flights and accommodation in case you are accepted. And finally, the data school is happening from the 8th to the 12th of April 2024. And the QR code is going to take you to the website for applications. And yeah, we wait for your applications now. If you want to contact us for anything, those are our email email details. You can contact the data school email or myself individually as well for any questions as well. All right.